Andor Season 2 is going to cost $290 million. Have Disney absolutely lost their minds? No, to be honest, because all the streaming services are doing it. Welcome to the Tachyon Pulse podcast, part of the Sci-Trek family.
Our tachyon pulse has been unable to completely penetrate the anomaly.
Please, we're a new channel, so please like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification. It really helps us out, and you'll never miss any of our new videos. I have to ask, what are these providers actually thinking? Because they really should have learned by now that throwing ridiculous amounts of money at a project does not mean you're going to get a good product out of it. I mean, Amazon really should have learned this lesson by now, when you consider that the Wheel of Time cost $16.2 million to produce. The Citadel cost $50 million an episode to produce. Neither of those products were very good, and neither of them were hits for Amazon. But The Boys cost around $11 million an episode to produce. So you'd have thought Amazon would have learned the lesson from that more money does not necessarily mean less problems. Disney obviously haven't learned that. As I say, Season 2 of Andor is costing $290 million. And if we compare that to The Rise of Skywalker, which was at the time a massive big deal for Disney. I mean, it really was supposed to be the movie that was going to re-kickstart the whole Star Wars saga. They had Luke back, for God's sake. That movie only cost $275 million to produce. Both seasons of Andor, which is equating to 24 episodes, is costing $645 million. Now, don't get me wrong, I really like Andor. I think it's great. But The Mandalorian only on average costs $15 million an episode. They've also done 24 episodes over 3 seasons, so that has cost about $360 million. That is half what Andor is costing. Now, don't get me wrong, sci-fi is expensive. We say that a lot on our sister channel as Sci-Trek because it is actually very expensive to produce. You got all the CGI, all the different sets, all the everything, it's really difficult and expensive to produce. And then you throw in a couple of big stars on big contracts and you're having a laugh. It's just expensive. It is one of the big reasons why we're not seeing so many sci-fi shows actually getting green lit at the moment. It does take a lot for a studio to sort of have confidence to spend this sort of money, but they still don't seem to do it wisely. Amazon. Citadel, 50 million quid, but you've got the Russo brothers, so they're thinking this is a sure thing. But they maybe should have been a little bit more careful. The Rings of Power was $58 million an episode. Again, it's the Lord of the Rings, so they thought they were onto a sure thing. They really should have spent a little bit more time looking at the detail. Especially remembering when actually the movie series of The Lord of the Rings, even corrected for inflation, only actually cost about $300 million to produce. The same as what roughly 3.5 episodes of the current series cost. I don't understand why they would spend that sort of money on a TV series that's not proven. What is the thinking? Game of Thrones, for example, cost $5 or $6 million an episode when it first came out. It did rise to about $15 million an episode as time went on. But by the time it grew to that sort of size of budget, the show was already the biggest thing on television. So it grew with expectation and with popularity, sensibly. The Expanse was a great TV series, but it only ever had a budget of around $5 or $6 million, which was really in line with expectation. Star Trek is a bigger show, so you could argue that spending more money on it makes sense. But if you compare The Expanse to Star Trek, are they visually that different? But Star Trek costs twice as much to make. I don't understand the reasoning for that. Now, HBO seem to have a little bit of logic on this, because they are actually spending a little bit more on the House of the Dragon than they did on Game of Thrones. They're now spending about $20 million an episode, but with inflation, it's about roughly what they were spending on the Game of Thrones towards the end. But that money seems like a wise investment, because even though there was some risk with the House of the Dragon, some people did worry about another bloody prequel. It did have a good pedigree. It had people really excited about it, building up to the new series. There's a lot of talk about it. I understand why they would spend that sort of money on a show, because you've got to invest when you've got a good product. Stranger Things on Netflix is a similar type of thing. The 4th season is going to cost $30 million an episode, but it's one of the biggest shows Netflix has. The first couple of seasons cost barely a third of that, but that was when they didn't know how popular it was going to be. It's now one of the biggest shows Netflix have, so of course it should have a budget to go with it. Now, as I say, CGI and everything costs money, but sometimes it's just the actors that cost a fortune. Apple got stung by this by The Morning Show, a TV show that stars Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon, and that cost them $15 million an episode, even though it's actually set at one place. There's no CGI, there's no big sets to build. It is just the actors' costs. But when you have a show with big movie stars in, you have to pay movie prices. A similar problem that WandaVision had, when that show cost $25 million an episode and was not, pulling up any trees when it came to how many views it got. It was the first couple of episodes, I thought technically I could understand what they were doing, but my God, it was boring to watch. It was interesting and it was clever, but it wasn't exciting. It got better towards the end, but $25 million an episode is just insane. I'm just really hoping that the studios can learn their lessons from some of these projects that have cost them billions and haven't been very good. But guys, get into the comments on what you think. Is some of these figures just shock you? Because they do me. I just can't believe some of the money they spent on some of these crap TV shows. What is the most ridiculous budget that you think of? What is the most, the most money spent on something that actually came up with the worst product at the end? If it's anything but Rings of Power, I'd be shocked. But get into the comments and tell me what you think. Also, do you actually think that the streaming wars are over? Because they're still spending ridiculous amounts of money on these shows. They still seem to be trying to throw money at a problem to get more content and to get that next big thing. But get into the comments and tell me what you think. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. It really helps us out and you'll never miss any of the new videos. Also go to patreon.com/SciTrek, where most of our new videos do premiere first and you get to see them without the adverts. As always, please stay safe and I'll see you next time.